Here is Howie Roseman addressing the media now.
Is it going to be a linebacker question?
That's later.
That's perfect. I look forward to it. My man. All right, guys. Here we go. Did you have one, or did I put you on the spot?
No, I'm good.
Anyone else who directs in a tux gets the next question.
So what is your plan to put this team in winning situations this year?
Well, you know what? I'm proud of the people that we have on this team, on and off the field. You know, obviously, the end of the season didn't go the way we wanted to, but at the same time, you know, making the playoffs 6 of the last 7 years, being in 2 of the last 6 Super Bowls, I feel like we've developed some sort of winning culture. Now we got to add to that, and I think we got a lot of work to do. You know, I'm a little bit excited about kind of aggressively going after some future players that we did to start this off and bringing back at least one of our guys. So it's a good start, but we got a lot of work to do, and I'm excited to do it with the people that we get the opportunity to do it.
Can you give us an update on Hassan Reddick? Where are things with Hassan? There was a report he was allowed to seek a trade. Do you expect him to be back next year?
Well, I'd say this. Hassan, obviously, unbelievable player for the Philadelphia Eagles. Local kid, great success story. Camden, Temple, Philly. Love having Hassan. I think that, you know, anything that you're trying to do, you're trying to blend, obviously, what you're trying to do this year and how you're going to look in the future. And I think that's the hardest job. But certainly, you know, don't want to get into any specifics with any conversations with players, but have tremendous respect for the player and the person.
With him, what's the best case scenario?
I think honest communication is the best case scenario with all your players, and understanding where you stand and not being afraid to have open doors of communication and hearing where they feel and where we feel. He had the initial conversation.
From Atlanta. You remember the first time you ever met Kirby, your initial reaction visiting with him, and what makes he and his coaching staff so successful in preparing their guys for the league?
Yeah, well, I think when you talk about Kirby and you talk about the experiences he had that led him to Georgia, I mean, phenomenal experiences, history of winning, and then he's got a culture down there, working and mentality, and obviously that travels on both sides of the ball. And you watch our defensive guys, and they're prepared to work. You know, they're not looking for any half-ass ways of doing things. They're looking to work hard and to win and compete, and that's because of the culture he set.
How much does this affect your plans when it comes to the draft and the offseason? You feel like you have to start looking more ahead right now because of the uncertainty there?
Yeah, I'd say it's obviously, you know, it's always a position that we're evaluating, we're looking at. So I don't think that anything's changed in terms of that. You know, it's our job to make sure we're prepared for any eventuality at any position. And you do that by preparing for the draft process, which this is a great part of that, is getting more information and information gathering, knowing what's out there in free agency, and knowing where your players are.
How can you take advantage of the salary cap increase? How do you take advantage of that?
Well, just the way you take advantage of anything, you just bring in a lot of good people. You know, I think that's the key, is for us to bring in good people, overall, to try to keep those guys in Philadelphia, to sign them to extension and build a culture of guys who it's important for them. The team's important, the city's important for them, and I think we got a good start on that.
How much does it change?
You said you don't want to overreact to an aberration. As you analyze it, do you view the last few weeks as an aberration?
You know, I don't know that I think about it other than how do we improve? You know, how do we get better as quickly as we can? How do we put our resources in the right position? How do we make good decisions after good decisions? Certainly we weren't good enough. You know, I think that luckily we've gotten to a point here where, you know, the standard is trying to compete for world championships. And so if a season ends, whether it's this year, which was disappointing, or last year, which was disappointing, that's really what we're trying to do. So I think it's clear to me that we weren't good enough to do that this year. And so I got to do whatever I possibly can to do better. And I got to look at it with open eyes and think about, you know, what things that I can do to help the team do better next year.
Howie, what's your biggest deterrent when evaluating the quarterbacks? What are some of the things that you don't want to see? Could be off field or even on like their play.
Are you talking about just in general about quarterbacks?
Yeah. When you're doing the evaluation process, what are some of the scary things that you don't
Yeah, I think just look at our starting quarterback and the traits that he has. Unbelievable work ethic, unbelievable physical talents, desire to be coached, a desire to learn. Off the field, all he wants to do is work and be with family and friends. And so, I think it's a lot of the things that you'd look for, in any leader in any organization to have these kind of traits. And obviously, there are physical parts of that go with accuracy and anticipation and being able to extend plays and being able to make every throw.
You've had the luxury in recent years of not needing your rookies to play a ton right away, but are there ways in which that sort of complicates the self-scouting, self-evaluation process?
I think when we look back and Coach and I talk about it a little bit, it's okay to play some young players. It's okay for them to get experience and kind of see what you have. Based on where some of our guys were, they had the ability to sit back and learn a little bit because of the situations that we were in. I think going forward, it's going to be harder to do that. Obviously, just as you look at our team and who is making a lot of money, and we had a little bit of extra picks over the last couple of years. So I think that for us to play our young players, to develop them, I think that's something that Coach and I have talked about, to not be afraid of. That's why you draft them. That's why you sign them. And so you have that, and you'll have a depth chart where they'll be a little bit uncomfortable about, this guy necessarily hasn't shown it, but we believe in this player. And so I think that'll be an area for us to kind of maybe grow on. And I don't want to say improve because we had good players at those positions, but that's exciting, I think, in a lot of ways.
Howie, when it comes to the cap,
I'll come.
When you look at upgrading defense, like what's your top priority as a team, your biggest offseason need there?
Yeah, I think that, again, I think going back to the question, I think you want to improve every area, every layer of your team. Certainly, I think when we look back at last offseason, we made a conscious decision to kind of put a little bit more resources onto the offensive side, knew that we'd lose some good players on defense. I think looking back, certainly miss some of those guys. That starts with me and making those decisions. And so I don't think there's an area that, we wouldn't, be open to addressing. Now, if you look at our defense and you're just kind of honest with it, well, we have a lot of young players at defense tackle, right? So is that as big a priority as other areas, just being honest? Probably not. But that's also an important position. So we're also not going to be in a position where we're going to turn down a guy because the resources are already there because we believe in the D-line so much.
Howie, when you look at Howie,
I'm gonna come, I promise.
What do you think of the job that Shane Steichen did in his first year in Indianapolis? And if, so far, any areas of growth from...
Are you a Colts writer?
Yes.
Okay, that gives me perspective. It's funny because last year at the Combine, Shane's room was on the same floor as mine. And like 3 times I was trying to see him. I hadn't seen him since the Super Bowl. And he texted me, he's like, I got something for you. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, this guy's going to give me a great present. He's so happy of the players we got him. He's got this head coaching job and head coaching money. And so, I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, is he getting me a watch? Is he getting me freaking sneakers? All the things I like. And he's like, bro, I have this green sport jacket. I'm like, we have nothing similar in terms of body types, you and I, bro. I can't even wear this. So I actually just gave it to Nick. So, which probably different body types too. So I think that, Shane has this savant-like approach to football. He's all ball all the time. Any conversation you want to talk to him about football, about players, he's there. If you want to talk to him about current events, he'll kind of give you that, what? But I think that's what makes him such a great coach is because he's always working on things. He's got tremendous confidence in his knowledge and his ability. And I certainly think the Colts are lucky to have him. I'm gonna come, I promise.
How do you view Nolan Smith heading into
I think that goes back to the point about some younger players and kind of in retrospect, just seeing him certainly in the playoff game, one of the guys who played well in the playoff game, maybe giving him a little bit more time during the year and experience. We talked about that. He's got all the right tools in his body. He's got the right mentality. And at the same time, he's got to go out and show it. I'm coming. Boom, boom.
when you look at the salary cap increase, how does it change the way you can approach this offseason?
Well, I think you still got to be cognizant of how you want to build a team. I think you still got to be aware of guys coming up for contracts that you want to keep, that you don't anticipate losing. And I think it also gives you some flexibility to not force things, to have the ability to walk away from a deal and understand that may come about at another time. So I don't think you want. It's still the same amount of money. It's like if you win $5, it's still your $5. You know, you don't want to just throw that $5 out and pretend like, you know, it's not yours. So this is our salary cap money. We got to make sure that we're still making good decisions with it, because at the end of the day, as we go forward, we do have a lot of guys making a lot of money. Yeah, I think that there are talented players on the free agent market. You know, obviously we got a couple guys there from our team that are going to be free agents, and I think that at the end of the day, talented players end up getting paid. You know, and it's just, I think, where I'm getting a little distracted by the freaking. Is Dom doing the security? Are you doing John Lynch's security right now, Dom? They left. So I think everyone will kind of have a value on players just like any other position, and obviously those guys handle the ball a lot, and they're important players.
Given Vic's experience as a defensive coordinator, does he get more sway when it comes to personnel?
I'm sure he thinks that. No, I'm just kidding. You know, obviously tremendous respect for Vic. Know him for a long time, and he's had tremendous success. And I think when we talk about how we build a team overall, obviously that's something that's important to us. But by the same token, knowing what the coordinator is important to the coordinator and the system so that it could be successful is important as well.
How big of a priority is
Well, Devontae's an incredible person, an incredible player, obviously homegrown, young guy. You know, without getting into specifics, those aren't guys that you really want to leave.
What's your understanding of the future for Kelsey and Fletcher?
You know, obviously those guys, unbelievable players, unbelievable people, and they deserve the right to decide what's best for them. And, you know, we'll wait and give them whatever time and space they need to make the right decisions. And I think the important thing from our perspective is you'd never want to see them wearing different colors. And I think for us, no matter when that is, if they want the opportunity to come back, we'd want to have the opportunity to bring them back.
Bradbury's under contract for $9 million guaranteed. He played some slot last year. Do you guys view him more as a slot as he gets older, or still an outside guy?
I think he's an outside guy. I think when you look at the skill set there, I think that, you know, that was one of the positions that as we got into the summer, we kind of knew we needed some depth there. We gave some guys opportunities to do it. You know, I got to do a better job of bringing in more guys to be able to play that position. I think that's one area that kind of you felt like in August maybe we needed to add, so we tried some guys. But when you look at JB and his history and his success as an outside corner, to ask him to do something, which is really a different position, is hard.
And he remains part of your plans?
Yeah, he's under contract, part of our plans.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Howie.
That was Eagles general manager Howie Roseman. Now stepping to the mic is the head coach, Nick Sirianni, in Indianapolis.
A few months into the offseason, obviously you've gotten a chance to watch some film. Have you analyzed the drop-off that happened mid-season?
Yeah, that's what this early parts are for. These early, you get a little bit of time to get away. You hire new coaches, you get a little time to get away, and then you start to analyze your season and watch draft prospects, watch free agencies, and so that's what we're in the process of right now. You know, what happened, you know, what we did well, what we didn't do well, right? And obviously there was a drop off and of how we played down the stretch and how we coached down the stretch. And you know, again, those are still in the early stages of us kind of identifying those things. Don't want to give you a premature answer. But yeah, that's what we're in the process of doing right now. And you know, we're committed obviously to getting it better and to you know, taking a good step forward next year.
Nick, do you think Jalen needs to be more of a vocal leader next season, and how do you think he did last year leading the team?
You know, everybody, there's not a book that is written on this is how you lead, right? People lead in different ways. And one thing I learned early about in leadership is that you have to be yourself. And because if you lead and you're trying to be somebody you're not, when you lead, then that gets seen through. I mean, that's the same scenario I was put in, when I became the head coach or an offensive coordinator or whatever it was. And everybody has to lead their way. And Jalen has special qualities that people will follow and people will want to follow. And he's got to do what he needs to do to lead in that way. And so some people's leadership style is loud and aggressive. Some people's leadership style is by example, and some is a mixture of both. And so Jalen needs to lead how he needs to lead, right? And AJ needs to lead how he needs to lead. And whoever it is, Slay's got to lead how he needs to lead. And because that's leadership, right? Is being who you are and leading an example. At the end of the day, if you're leading by example, that's a great style of leadership. So Jalen needs to lead how he needs to lead, and I think he's done a great job of doing so. And he'll get, just like he has done in other things, he'll get better at that part of his game, and he'll get better at, just because I know that he'll continue to work on getting better at no matter what part of the game he needs to work at.
As you look back at the way you did things last year, how much are you looking at changing the way you communicate with players? Is that under consideration? Because there are reports out there, that some players look at it exceptional. So, how are you planning on changing the way you communicate with players?
You go through, like, anytime you go through a season, whether it's successful in your eyes or whether it's not successful in your eyes, you look on opportunities to get better. And my job is to talk to every single player, and I've done that. Talk to every single coach. What went right? What went wrong? What's your and you take that into account. You take everything into account, and you try to get better at doing those things. I think connection is our number one core value, and there were things that we as a team, myself, didn't do a good enough job of last year, right? Maybe we leaned a little bit more into one category of our core values: connect, compete, accountability, football IQ, and fundamentals. Maybe at times I felt like I leaned maybe a little bit into one and not enough into the other. And so those are all things that you evaluate at the end of the year. And I look forward to, getting better and like I said to you guys before, like, we're not that far removed from having one of the best cultures, that any of us had ever been around. And that's, our players would say that, our coaches would say that, and it's just some tweaks that we need to do. But make no mistake about it, the things that, like, you can change how you communicate your culture, you can change little ways that you do it with it. But at the forefront, we're never going to change what the culture is: connect, compete, accountability, football IQ, and fundamentals. And we have the right coaches in here to do it, and we have the right players in here to do it, because we have good people in this building.
What parts of Kellen Moore's scheme will complement most of yours?
Yeah, good question. So obviously Kellen, I hired Kellen because I felt like he was the best guy for the job, and Kellen's been successful in every place that he's been. I know it's relatively a young career, but he's been successful as a player. He's been successful as a coach. And so, I like the way he thinks about football and the way he takes everything in and is able to make decisions off of that. So it's been fun getting to know him. I've always had respect from him from afar. And it's been fun getting to know him and work through these things together, to build our offense for next season. And so he's been highly successful, and we've been highly successful. And I think that, I'm really looking forward to meshing the things, meshing what he's done really well together with the things that we've done really well. I think it's going to be a really good match. And Kellen's track record speaks for itself.
How can you make Jalen better as a quarterback?
Yeah, Jalen's obviously had high moments of success. Last year in 2022, a runner-up for, obviously up there for the MVP award, and through the first 11 games, the same thing here. And then we had a fall off as a team. And it's not just Jalen, it's not just me, it's our team that we had a fall off as a team those last 6 weeks, and that we all need to get better from. But Jalen's played some really outstanding football. Here's what I know about Jalen: whatever he deems we see that he needs to work on, or he sees that he needs to work on, he's going to get better at that because he puts everything he has into it. And that's a form of leadership too. Like Jalen sees something that he feels is a weakness of his, or we feel like is a weakness of his. He's going to dive everything that he has and pour everything that he has into it to get better from that. Like that's leadership. Like that's a form of leadership. And so I know that, obviously I'll keep some of the things that we've all talked about, what I need to get better at, what he needs to get better at, to ourselves. But I know that he'll put everything that he has into getting better as a football player, being better as a quarterback, so we can win more games as a team.
Nick, from Atlanta, what's the core DNA of your Bulldog players? And what does Kirby do so well to get his guys ready for the league?
Toughness, right? Toughness. Obviously, the guys that we've drafted and have on our team from Georgia are highly talented, right? We have 2 first-round guys in Jordan and in Jalen, another first-round guy in Nolan. We got a 3rd-round guy in Nakobe, a 4th-round guy in Keeley. So they're tough, they're physical, they know how to win. And on top of that, they're really good football players. And so we look forward to continuing to develop those guys. And so, you look at it from afar and say, hey, these guys know how to work. These guys know how to practice. I think and these guys are tough. I think that's anytime you can say that about another coach, like hopefully you understand that's a high praise that I have for Coach Smart and what he's done at that program, and obviously grateful for that because we have some of those really good players on our team.
Nick, AJ, talk about not being afraid to play young players. What's been your philosophy on that your first 3 years in the league, and how do you see that evolving?
My philosophy has always been play the guys that are going to help you win the game every week, regardless of whether you talk about scheme, whether you talk about players. You're trying to do whatever you can do to win the game because that's the bottom line, is to win football games. And so whoever gives us that best chance to win a football game, that's what we'll do. Young, old, middle, it doesn't matter. We're going to do what we need to do. I owe that to our team, our coaches and our players and our fans to play the best player that's going to help us win that week. And so we don't care who that is.
Nick, AJ's probably frustrated with some of the outside noise. I guess what's been your reaction to it? Do you talk to him about handling that type of stuff?
AJ, like I've been telling you guys for a long time, not only is he one of the best players I've ever been around, he's also one of the best leaders, and and he's going to do anything he can do to stick up for his teammates. That's why I admire. That's why he wears a C on his chest. And I think that if you're speculating, well, hey, what does it mean if he's yelling over here? Like everybody doesn't. There's some people that when you're leading them, you yell at them, and there's some people when you're leading them, you put your arm around them, and there's some people there's somewhere in the middle, and like that's leadership. Also, is just figuring out what buttons to press with different guys. Not every person is. You don't treat everybody the exact same, right? The standard is what it is, and you hold everybody to that standard, but you don't treat everybody exactly the same of how you get to that standard, how you correct that standard, or how you praise that standard. Everybody's a little bit different. I think, AJ understands that. Like I said, just a great teammate, great person. In my opinion, best receiver that's been in Philadelphia. And I grew up a Terrell Owens fan, and I grew up Howie says I'm too young to like Mike Quick, but I was a huge Mike Quick fan. And it's pretty cool that I get to do some interviews with him every once in a while. But you look at the stats and you look at what AJ's done in a 2-year span. He's had the 2 most productive years ever as an Eagle wide receiver. And so, man, like when you have one of your best players being also one of your best leaders, that's special.
Where do you land on with Hassan Reddick's future with the Eagles, knowing that there's going to be a business decision that has to be made this whole season?
Yeah, obviously, we'll see how that plays out. I don't know how that will play out. Obviously, Hassan's been awesome for us these last 2 years. Big reason why we've been to the playoffs the last 2 years is the contributions of Hassan. He's played really outstanding football. So, we'll see how that plays out, and hopefully he's an Eagle.
Coach, why experience staff this year than last year? A, was that intentional? And B, why did you turn over the
defensive staff and not the offensive staff?
So, it was about getting the right guys for the job. And I'm excited to, have the experience of Vic here. He's obviously been an outstanding coordinator for a long time, a very long time in this league. Shoot, he was telling me the other day when we were driving up here that, the combine when he first started was in New Orleans. I can't even fathom how. So he's been in this league for so long, been successful for so long, and I'm really looking forward to that. Because as well as we've done on defense in the past, dating back to Jonathan. Jonathan was a first-year coordinator, as I was a first-year head coach, and Sean was early on in his I think it was his second year as a coordinator, and so I'm really looking forward to that experience that Vic will provide. Vic's a great play caller. He's done it again. Like I said, he's done it for a very, very long time, at a high level, and I'm really excited for that experience we have. As I think it's important. That Vic had, some of his guys that he's worked with before and that know his system and know the things that he requires. And so there's a reason, why there's some change there on the defensive side because he needed some guys that were familiar with that, which Sean didn't have last year, and so I thought that was important. As far as, us kind of creating our Philadelphia Eagles offense going into 2024, right, that will be, thoughts that we've done in the past really well. That'll be thoughts that Kellen's done in the past really well. And so, we look forward to building that together. And so, Kellen has we brought in Doug to be the quarterback coach. And then we kept, stayed pat in a lot of different areas as well with Kevin and with Jason, with Stout. Those are really, obviously we know those are really good coaches, have a lot of faith in them. And, it's meshing of two systems to grow in both systems so we can put the best product on the field. And so, that's why that's kind of stayed similar is because we're going to be doing a lot of different, we're going to be doing different things, but also going to be doing things that we've been successful at as well. And so, and obviously those guys that I just mentioned on offense have been here through the success and look forward to growing from that.
What do you think of Shane Steichen in his first year in Indianapolis and just seeing him, I guess, grow in that role this first year?
Yeah, I obviously didn't get a chance to watch too many of Shane's games. Obviously we were busy doing our own thing, but always rooting for Shane. And I'm happy for him that it was a success. He had to go through some ups and downs with some guys getting injured, and he continued to, coach really good football from afar. What's that?
Personality-wise, what sticks out about him and makes him, I guess, ready for that opportunity?
Yeah, he's had a lot of good experiences. I think he's all football at all times, and that's what he's interested in. I think there's not a lot of I've obviously feel like I have a good friendship with Shane, and really value that friendship. But I can't tell you that when my wife and his wife and myself and our kids, we all went out to dinner, there was much other conversations going on besides football. And that's Shane. And so I value that relationship. And I'm really happy that he, obviously didn't get a chance to watch a lot of his stuff. But, happy how they, that they had a successful season, and I'm really excited for them. And I'm not surprised that they did because I know Shane's a great football coach. He's a great leader. He's a great person, and I'm happy for his success that he's having.
Nick, you see the running back room shaping out now that DeAndre is headed to free agency, and I think Kenny's the only one under contract next year. Do you feel like you need to change that room around?
No, I think last year we ended up. I can't. You guys would know better than me. I know we were in the top 10 in rushing, and it's been kind of a staple here for the past 3 years. And we've done it with different pieces, and you always can do it with different pieces. But obviously you get attached to the things that DeAndre had a great year. He did a lot of really great things, and we'll see how that plays out. There's a lot to play out, right? There's free agency. There's the draft, then there's college free agency, then there's more guys that are still left out. I mean, so there's so many things that can play out. You're trying to fill just like you are in a receiver room, trying to fill different roles, right? You're trying to do the same thing at the running back position, trying to do the same thing at the tight end position. of making sure you have the right guys to fill the roles that you want to do as an offense. And maybe one guy can fill 3 roles, and maybe one guy can fill the other 2. And so you just never know how that plays out, and what players you have in place. But we, obviously value the contributions that DeAndre made. He's a great football player. We'll see how that goes with where we are. But there's so many things that play out. I know we know what we're looking for as far as that position and the roles that we want to fill with that position. And so, and having Kenny, he fills some of those roles, and we're excited to have him, and look forward to see what the future has with the other guys.
Nick, what's one thing you learned last year from the end of the season that you think next year can help you if you are in a similar situation or you lose a game or 2? Like, what was one takeaway you thought?
We went through early here in 2021. We went through a really tough stretch, right? And we doubled down on the things we knew to be true, our culture, our core values. And I wouldn't say, and then we went through a tough stretch here too. And even though we said to ourselves, hey, we're doubling down on this, it didn't. In 2021, it worked. And in 2023, it didn't work. I think it's just, again, being in this constant growth mindset of things that, just always trying to get better at every style of football that you're trying to do. And then I do think though, with those core values, you always double down on those, because to me, it wasn't a core values. We didn't just make them up and say, hey, connect, compete, accountability, football IQ, and fundamentals are what's important, right? That was years and years of coaching and playing that we thought to ourselves, and I thought to myself, these are the common denominators of good football teams. And that's not changing off of a bad spurt, right? And so it is a true double down on those from day one. Doubling down on the connection, doubling down on the accountability. I really look at it, those two, the connect and the accountability. Even though I say connect, compete, well, those two C's kind of go together, so it's like they say together. But connect and accountability are the two, I would say, cornerstones of our program. Those are the ones that when I really take away, hey, these are important, that we play with good football IQ, that we play with good fundamentals, and that we compete our ass off. Those are important, but it all starts, everything starts with the accountability and the connecting. And so it's almost a double down, a triple down on those core values. And I look forward to when the players get back to do that. And as you see, that we've been kind of doing it as coaches with our cheesesteak tour.
Nick, you talked about
what do you got, Jeff?
I love it. I guess he was a little joke there. What do you got? And then his time was done with Nick Sirianni. They explored a lot of different topics. I know they're going to be talking about that from 2 to 6 right here on a Best Show Ever with Ty, Ricky, and Jen. And you're going to be discussing it on Birds Huddle coming up at 6 o'clock.
Yes, at 6 o'clock. I'll also be on at 4 on the Best Show Ever. So
make sure you tune in
yes.
for that. For Barrett Brooks, I'm Amy Fiddle. Thanks so much for joining us here as we brought you the press conferences from Indianapolis ahead of the Combine from Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman. Now to the Best Show Ever.